next concept is something related to vacuoles. This is a very small topic. Vacuole topic. If you take vacuole, generally we discuss vacuole as a point of differentiation between animal cell and plant cell. So this is a diagram where which one is plant cell, which one is animal cell. I think you can tell very better way, isn't it? The plant cell will have cell wall. The animal cell won't have cell wall. Plasma membrane is common to animal cell and plant cell. The major difference between animal cell and plant cell. In plant cell, you'll have a huge vacuole, isn't it? Whereas in animal cell, you'll have a huge nucleus. Yes, large vacuole for plant cell. And this is, the big one is the nucleus in animal cell, isn't it? Okay. Now, after having an idea about vacuole, the basic idea, why vacuoles are necessary for animal cell or plant cell is the next point, isn't it? So when you take the concept of vacuole, generally the vacuoles in most of the plant, when we take the plant, the vacuole is the one which maintains the plant cell structure. Whether the plant cell is straight and erect or it has started drooping and wilting, that depends on the vacuole content. If the vacuoles will have enough quantity of cell sap or enough quantity of water to maintain the healthiness of plant, the plant will be erect. Suppose if the vacuole doesn't have enough amount of fluid, here understand the word fluid. Fluid stands for water content, mineral content also inside the plant. So water content and mineral content in the form of fluid, if it is not sufficient for the plant, then the plant starting drooping. Drooping, you know, wilting or bending of the plant, unhealthy condition of the plant. So how the vacuole is helping in maintaining the healthiness of a plant is the first point. Then when you take the vacuole function, some of the vacuoles will store the toxic and unwanted material, and they'll help in removal of such toxic material through exocytosis. Did you remember the word exocytosis? Expelling out the material from the cell. I explained during plasma membrane structural aspect. Phagocytosis, pinocytosis, exocytosis, all those things. So vacuoles are the one which will expel the toxic material, okay, through exocytosis process. Then they'll maintain the pH of the cell, isn't it? This also we discussed during lysosome structural aspect. I explained the lysosomes will have enzymes, acidic enzymes. They act only on particular foreign molecules to protect the cell, isn't it, from infection. Such dismantled or destroyed toxic material will be exposed out. How they will be expelled out? Through the formation of vacuoles only. Did you remember the phagosomes during the process of primary lysosome to secondary lysosome conversion? All these concepts we discussed, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's good. You remembered the whole concept. So that makes me easy to go through with vacuole. Okay. So these 2 points are already discussed in various concepts in earlier sessions. So how much importance the vacuole is carrying inside a plant and animal cell tells this whole point. And then they'll also help in transport of materials. So from one cell to the outside environment, some material has to be transported. In the form of vacuole only they'll go. Did you remember the endoplasmic reticulum to Golgi complex? There will be vacuole formation. After proteins are synthesized, they will be folded properly and will be given out of the cell through the formation of vacuole only, isn't it? That's all transport of material. So all these functions are discussed somewhere here and there in all cell organelles. So those are all linked through the vacuole concept only. Okay, that's for vacuole interest. But there are some other concepts where vacuoles carries different functions. For that you have to know about what the different types of vacuoles. When you take different types of vacuoles, sap vacuole is the one you find in plant cell. The best example of a sap vacuole functioning, just let me share a slide that clear of contractile vacuole and sap vacuole difference. Here, so what are the types of vacuoles we are discussing here? Now, when you take the plant, you'll have a large central vacuole, and the membrane around the vacuole is a single membrane, not like the mitochondria and chloroplast double membrane. It's a single membrane, and that membrane is called tonoplast. This is spelling mistake. There won't be any over here. Tonoplast is the correct spelling. Observe it. Fine. Thank you. So here, vacuole is surrounded by a single membrane called tonoplast. Okay, this is the most fascinating bit in medical entrance exams. So tonoplast, what is tonoplast? Or the membrane around vacuole. The membrane or the single membrane around vacuole, we call it as tonoplast. Okay, this is the plant cell, because we are having a big vacuole inside and cell wall is there, isn't it? This is the cell wall. So this is the plant cell. So in plant cell, the vacuole is surrounded by a membrane called tonoplast. And inside the vacuole, the yellow color thing which I'm shading on the diagram, observe it, it's called cell sap. Cell sap is not cytoplasm. Understand the word. What is cytoplasm? Cytoplasm is the fluid material present inside the cell. The orange color one, see I'm circling inside the cell diagram. The orange color one, this is the cytoplasm. Okay. Whereas cell sap is the one which is present inside the vacuole. Understood the difference? What is the difference between cytoplasm and cell sap? Cytoplasm is the one which is there inside the cell. Cell sap is the one which is inside the vacuole. Here you will find cell sap. Okay. Then what else is stored inside the vacuole? Inside the vacuole you will find various minerals and sometimes sugars, pigments, enzymes, and even gases like carbon dioxide and oxygen are also stored inside the vacuole. And vacuole regulates the flow of water. This I explained during the plasma membrane structure itself. Did you remember the hypotonic condition, hypertonic condition, and isotonic conditions? Based on the outer environment and inner environment, all these terms differs. This concept we dealt already, isn't it? Yes. So this is a concluding topic. That's why I'm just revising the earlier ones also. Like all these points we discussed in earlier concepts. The only important additional point over here regarding plant vacuole is surrounded by a single membrane called tonoplast. That's one point. The second point is vacuole will store so many materials. Within the vacuole, you will have a fluid filled material called cell sap. Cell sap and cytoplasm are not the same. They are different. Cytoplasm is the fluid material inside the cell. Cell sap is the fluid material inside the vacuole. Clear, Bhumika, this one? Shall I move on to the contractile vacuole concept? Okay, fine. So when you take contractile vacuole, you'll find contractile vacuole in animal cell. So there's a difference. Sap vacuole you'll find in plant cell, vacuole only, but contractile vacuole you'll find in animal cell. The best example for contractile vacuole, I'll show a slide. You'll get a better idea. You will find the contractile vacuole in animal cells, especially in protists. What they'll do, their function is different from plant cell because animal body is different from plant body. So obviously the vacuole function will be different. So here, yeah. So this is the one called paramecium. Paramecium is the plural they'll use, but singular is paramecium. Paramecium is a protist. Protists are nothing but unicellular organisms like amoeba. You know amoeba, no? The same kind of family this organism belongs. Unicellular organisms we call them as. When you take the paramecium, the paramecium is a unicellular organism where single cell will carry all the functions, and it is a freshwater organism. So inside the paramecium, you will have a asterisk or star-shaped vacuole called contractile vacuole. The term itself indicates the contractile, contraction and relaxation, where you'll find in the heart muscles. You remember the cardiac muscles and all we discussed in tissues chapter. So the same kind of function here this vacuole will do. What it will do? It will regulate the water intake and it will pump out the excess water. This whole process is called homeostasis. Homeostasis meaning is maintaining equilibrium. What kind of equilibrium it's maintaining? It's maintaining equilibrium from outside environment to the inside environment of this organism. So when more water comes inside, it's a freshwater organism saying, no? So more water comes inside, what happens? This organism body will swell up and ultimately it may result in bursting and death of the cell. So even if more water is going out of the cell also, this organism will die because of the shrinking. So both the processes has to be balanced, coming in and going out of the fluid materials. This intake and moving out material maintenance is called homeostasis. Homeostasis word is important over here in this concept. Yes, Euglena, Chlamydomonas, all these are unicellular organisms only. Yeah, in Euglena also you will find contractile vacuole. Have you read anything about contractile vacuole in Euglena? Okay, fine, no problem. So vacuoles generally, what in lower classes, if you read vacuole, generally what you would have learned is vacuole are the one which will store materials. That's all. But not only storing of the minerals, sugars and gases, they'll also maintain the equilibrium and healthy condition of plant cell, even in animal cells also. So in plant cell we call them as sap vacuole. In animals we call them as contractile vacuole. Contractile vacuole best example, Euglena is one example, even paramecium is also another example. Chlamydomonas we won't find because chlamydomonas is something related to plant cell structure. It's almost similar to plant cell structure. Not a plant but similar to plant cell structure. Okay, so contractile vacuole function, I mean what they'll do is they'll maintain the balance. Equilibrium is nothing but balance, isn't it? Balance between outer environment and inside of the cell. So that's the example of contractile vacuole. Then after contractile vacuole, you will having gas vacuole. So here, as I already told you, vacuole stores the carbon dioxide and oxygen like gases also. So such vacuoles we call as gas vacuole. And food vacuoles. The vacuole, if they store food materials in the form of reserve materials like the starch, the glucose, something like that, glycogen, then they are called food vacuole. So these are the general terms. Okay, no need to explain in depth, isn't it? But this word is important. Extrusomes. This is a very special kind of vacuole which will store secretory materials. What does mean by secretory materials? Have you? That's what I'm saying. So that is nothing but a material which will be stored inside vacuoles. Such vacuoles we call as extrusomes. Extrusomes. So these are different types of vacuoles. Sap vacuole, contractile vacuole, gas vacuole, food vacuole, extrusomes. Okay. Then after vacuoles, we are having a separate concept called cell inclusions. So cell inclusions, if you want to define a cell will have living matter inside its body in the form of cell organism. So far we discussed this endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, mitochondria, the chloroplast, nucleus, all these are living cell organelles inside the cell. Whereas the non-living substances inside the cell are called cell inclusions. The other name for them are ergastic substances or ergastic bodies. So what are ergastic bodies or ergastic substances? They are nothing but non-living cell inclusions inside the cell. Okay. What is the importance of them? Why the non-living material are there? Suppose assume that there is a metabolic process happening inside the cell. For example, photosynthesis, for example. Inside the chloroplast, living cell organelle, photosynthesis happens. At the end of the photosynthesis, some products will be released. All those products are not useful to the cell. Some products, they are waste material to the cell. So such waste material, what we call? Those are non-living things and they are called ergastic substances. Okay. They has to be expelled out of the cell. Best example, take lysosome. Lysosome is a living cell organelle. But what it give out is a toxic material that can be called as ergastic substance. You got me, Bhumika? The cell inclusion and cell organelle